Hello friends and welcome back to 7 Days to Die. Well, today's a little different. I wanted to do a little tutorial on recipe editing. The reason behind that is I use it a lot for my books in the game to turn skill books into regular books, and to change the amount of paper it takes to build a book. And I want to kind of show how that's done, and at the same time, we're going to be making some very creative houses on Bearded Bob's servers for the next few weeks, and we wanted to have access to a few more of the items from the creative menu without actually using the creative menu. So there are ways to get access to those items, those blocks and things that are in the game, but are not available with crafted recipes yet, but they actually are there. And you can, if you come up with a logical recipe for yourself, then you can go ahead and make that change. You could also do things like change how bolts are created, for example. Like there's an idea right now running in the forums that maybe bolts should be made out of feather, stick, and scrap iron, which to make a scrap iron head rather than a flint head, which would make bolts a lot more difficult to acquire, and I think would really change the dynamics of the game just with that one minor tweak. And also you could change recipes for anything. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you two different ways of editing your recipes. So first of all, you're going to want to navigate to your 7 Days to Die folder, which should be inside your Steam Apps Common 7 Days to Die directory, in your data directory, and in your config folder, and you will find a recipes.xml file. Now it does mean that you should know something about XML. I mean, it's not rocket science whatsoever. So let's go ahead and we'll open this up with Notepad++. Nice little editor. It's free and solid. So what you can see in this, you see an XML header, then you see recipes node and all the recipes inside of that. So each recipe has a starting and a closing recipe tag. And inside here you got some elements for that recipe node. You got like name, you have the pork chard. Now these are the elements that the game refers to. So one problem can be identifying what the actual items are called. I'll provide a link in this description that will show you where you can get those, as well as some other tools that I'll be showing here. So you can see it's count of 1. You get 1 item back when you make this recipe. You could change this to 5, for example, and if you put 1 piece of pork, you get 5 charred pork back out. So you could very quickly, alter the game, if it's scrappable or not, if it requires a craft area to make it. So I can actually take this off, and I could make charred pork just in my in the regular crafting table if I wanted to, in your backpack. It tells how long it takes to craft it, and then the ingredient and the count, how many it takes to do it. So you look through here and you see a bunch of campfire stuff. These are all the cooking recipes at the top of the file. The order doesn't really matter. They just keep them together because it makes it easy to find those things. So here, for example, you can see that grilled pork requires a cooking grill. For example. So if you wanted to, here's beakers, and tallow takes cooking pots. So here's where we get down to the recipe items that are the more regular items that you actually craft in your regular crafting area. So for example, here's a 10mm bullet. You get 1 bullet. It is scrappable, which means you can drop it in that thing, and you can pull the pieces. You can pull the bullet casing and the bullet tip back out of it. And it tells you the ingredients. So these are the ingredients for that, and it tells you the name. So again, this is the item that you need to find in the world that goes into your recipe, how many you need, and where in the grid it is. So imagine that you've got you got your 5x5 grid. 0, 0 is that spot at 3 across, 3 down. That's 0, 0. So going up is minus, going left is minus. So if I'm 1 up to the left at left and above that center piece, I'm at -1, -1. So for example, bullet tip is at 0, so that's 0 across. 0, I mean, that's the very center. -2, that means 2 up. So 0, 1, 2. So it's a top. It's basically that first row is where that piece goes. And if you remember, if you create a bullet, that's where the bullet tip goes. And then gunpowder, and then bullet casing. So here we're going down one, so we're down one spot from that center 0, 0, down one row, so we're in the fourth row, third column is 0, 1. So you can very quickly learn these, how this kind of works, and you could change it around as you want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down. I actually have another file already done, because rather than having to redo them each time, I keep a recipes books file. So what happens is, whenever you connect to a server, the server will tell the client to download the server's version of the recipes.xml file. So that's what you'll get on some servers once in a while, and they'll have recipes to craft augers and chainsaws and beakers and all that kind of stuff. And it overwrites your local recipes file. So let's go in here. I'm going to open this one up as well. Let's open this. Oops, I opened it with a different editor in a different window. So let me open that again with Notepad. All right. So in here, this is my kind of working recipe file, and we're going to do a quick find for book. I think it's, there we go, around 250. Yep. So here we have a recipe for book. Ingredient is paper. Count is 20. So normally the count is 64 to make your paper into a book. So I've changed that count to 20. Now I've also added another recipe with the same name. So basically it's the same, it's going to give me the same item, but the ingredient is different. Now when you do this, you want to be a little careful that you're not going to overwrite anything important, and also the placement of some things matters. So for example, here, to make a book, if I put paper at 0, 0, I get a book. But if I basically put the book in a different location. I put the book at the third column, but the second row down. So it's one up from that 0, 0 spot. So I put the Forge Ahead book, the Home Maintenance book, the Hunting Knife book, the Pistol book, Urban Combat book, Ammunition book, Reloading Weekly book, and Leather Tanning. I put all of those books right there. So I'm going to copy this recipe file. I always want to copy it to my newest version of the recipes. So I'll just find 250. So my book, where's my book? See, it did move a little bit in this newest version. So I want to go ahead and, so here it is, 64. So I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to hit return, give myself a little bit of space, and I'm going to paste in that code from my other recipes files. Now the indenting doesn't matter too much. XML ignores all that stuff. The white space is for human readability, so you don't need to worry about that. So basically, once I have these recipes in here, I can make pretty much anything I want. I can make those books all. The only ones I don't have in this are the blueprints, because I feel the blueprints don't really count as books, so they shouldn't be craftable into books. Now, obviously, this is a little bit. You need to know a little bit to use this tool, or to use just a text editor to edit your recipe files. But it is quick and easy. If you have a segment like this that you're going to always use, you can just paste it in and move on. But it does require you knowing the actual entity names of things, block names, all these things. So there is a better tool. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file. I'm going to close that. Now there is a tool. I'm going to go ahead and bring up. This is the 7 Day Sci Forum. There is BloodSlingers Advanced Recipe Editor. So you can go to 7 Days to Die. I'll have the link for this in the description. You can go to 7 Days to Die Forum, and you can find this thread. Bloodslinger has been updating this thing for a long time. It's gone through many iterations, and he just fairly recently updated it for Alpha 10.4. So it is updated to the most current version, and they've got good instructions on how to use it all. So what you can do is you can go ahead and click the link to download it. You get a zip file, and that zip file basically has this stuff in it. You can go, there's no install or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about doing an install. It'll just come up and say, hey, you really want to run this program, it's from the internet, and you just click yes, and then you move on with life. So when you first start the application up, it's going to throw a little error, basically what it wants you to do. Let me go ahead and open it up, actually. So it'll come up with this settings window, and it'll ask you, it'll have a little validation errors in here, and it'll ask you to find the game path. So here's where you're going to want to go in, and you're going to want to navigate to your Steam Apps Commons 7 Days to Die folder, and tell it where the exe file is for the game. So once you've done that, it'll automatically do everything else, and the errors should go away. Then you hit save, and then you are set. And you go ahead and save that. Now, the recipes are the way this thing works. It's nice and visual. You're going to want to. There's a few other things that'll prompt you. It'll say, "Do you want to clear the archives?" You want to do that. You want to generate a reset file, and you will want to. Actually, let me go ahead and close this and reload it. That way we can see it. All right, now I got the newest version of that recipes files loaded in. So the books should be in here now. So just to show you what it is, we've got books here. We've got other copies of the book recipe. So these are clone recipes of the book recipe. And each one, if you click on it, it tells you there's the book, there's the book, there's the book. So it tells you there's exactly where it is. Again, 0, 0 is right here. This is 1 up, so this is that 0, 1 position. There's 0 minus 1 position. So you can see the actual XML, and there it is. So what can you do with this tool? Oh, let me go back. So like I said, when it comes up, you'll have to extract some files. Basically, just listen to what it tells you to do and do it. It's safe. It will not break anything. And it'll automatically extract the images for all the item assets in the game. So here's all of the assets that are in the game itself. So these are all draggable. These are all the ingredients that you can actually use to build things. So for example, if you wanted to make your crossbow, let's go back over here to crossbow. If you wanted the crossbow to require a rabbit, you could do that. So you just take your ingredient, you drag it out, and you put it where you need to put it, and that's how you create that or modify an existing recipe. Take it, drag it over here to the trash can. Now it's saved again. So again, this is all saved there. The one thing I'm going to show you guys how to do that is always it's always a little bit of an irritating one to me is I use Windows a lot, and I think they're 8 sticks. How does 8 sticks make a window? That makes no sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here, going to go window, and we already have the glass window mold. The glass window mold's in the game, so there should be a reason for it to be there. So we're going to go to the window 1, which is that kind of standard window that we've got, and this is the default recipe for that window. You guys all recognize that. I mean, I've used it a lot. Everyone uses this recipe to make their windows. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just move these sticks around. And you're actually going to see exactly what I am getting at here. And that's why I like using BloodSlingers Recipe Editor. It makes things so easy. So I'll go in here, stick. All right, I need a lot more sticks, so I'll just keep dragging these sticks out. And when I'm done, I want you guys to tell me if this does or does not make more sense for how this window should look. And it makes the window, a little bit more. It still doesn't make it hard to make, but it makes it a little more of an effort. So go there. We're gonna do window, glass pane there, glass pane there, glass pane there, glass pane there. Doesn't that make sense? I mean, look at the picture. 4 pieces of glass and sticks in between. 4 pieces of glass, sticks in between. Easy? Easy. Save that to disk, otherwise the recipe doesn't really exist yet. And before I actually, let's go ahead and show you that in the game. So Give me 1 second here. Okay, so here we are back in just regular 7 Days to Die. And I just want to show you these recipes do exist now. So we'll go in here and we'll do search for books. So now we see all these recipes for book because we use the same name for the recipe over and over again. But there's all those things and they all give me a book. And let's look up window. So wood window. So there's now our recipe for making window. So no longer is it just, you know, sticks in a box. It's actually something that makes logical sense. So just to show you how this actually works, I got creative mode on. So let's go ahead and add a group of sticks and let's add some glass. All right, so go in here. We'll take our wood window recipe and it works just like every other recipe. Now, normally that's going to give you wood spikes because it's seeing the 3 there, 3 there, and 3 there. But it will, once you get all the pieces on there, it'll give you the whole wood window. And perfect. We got a wood window. It makes much more logical sense, don't you think? All right. Now, it is going to cost a little bit more, but it should. I mean, you're going to have to melt the glass down. You're going to have to use glass to make the glass panes. And it also gives you a reason to collect these damn things off the zombies. We're always packing them around, and we got no use for them. Because really, sand is so much more efficient to make glass jars. So, all right, I'm going to go back to the editor now, and I'll show you something else. Okay, so we're back in the editor itself. And I wanted to kind of show you, these are the ingredients that are kind of in use. And then we have an all item index. This is all the assets that are in the game. So, you know, here we got 125 items used to make this stuff. There's 1,300 items in the game. So there's a lot more stuff in the game itself. So for example, if I go over here and I said, you know, 44 Magnum, I get the Magnum and there's the parts that make the Magnum. But if we want to do something like, how about refrigerator? There's no refrigerator. How about fridge? There's fridge bottom, but no fridge top. So let's say we wanted to actually make, let's see if we can do this over here. So there's the fridge top. It exists, but we don't have a, for some reason we can craft the fridge bottom, but not the fridge top. So we go over here again. Let's look at that again really fast. Fridge bottom looks like that. Okay, makes sense. We can make a box of iron, but why can't we make the fridge top? So what I normally do for something like this is we want to make a new recipe. Okay, now we're going to pick off of these items. Basically, it shows all the items. We're going to go fridge. I want the fridge top. So it's a new item. And this kind of explains what's going on. So these are all known objects. And it works out pretty good. So if you're going to edit something that already exists, you can just use the existing recipe, tweak it, you're good to go. You want to make a completely new item that's one of the items in the game, you can use this and you can do that. So let's go ahead and create and edit this fridge top. So fridge top starts off with dirt, which we're going to get rid of the dirt. Now, I try to, when I'm creating a recipe, I try to think somewhat logically with what we've got in the game. So what could a refrigerator be that you could find in the world? Well, I think you could probably use a, what do you call it? A cooler. So why don't we use a cooler as a center? I mean, that kind of makes sense to me. So what we also need then is we need some forged iron. We want a forged iron shape around that cooler. So now we got a box with a cooler. We can harvest this out in the world. So it does require you to go out there and have to do it. And then I think maybe a stick for a handle. Nice, maybe a nice wood handle on the door. And I'll just put it down one side. And that's the handle for the door. Now, that kind of makes sense to me. It's logical. It makes sense in the game environment. It's still going to require you to go out there and use a pickaxe and harvest one of those coolers and bring it back. But at least this way you've got some sort of item. Now, let's go ahead and save that to disk. And I want to show you one other thing in the game here before we go back into the editor here before we go back in the game. There's also an items editor up here, and this shows you like what group things belong to, what how high they stack, a bunch of information. You really want to be really careful here. The one thing you can mess with is a stack number. It's not too deadly or anything, but you want to be careful here. But if you wanted to look at, for example, you wanted to change bottled water and have it stack to like 25, you could do that right here. Or you could change it to, you could have it gain health or gain your fullness. It can adjust the water amount you gain. So you can do all these things, but just be prepared that, you know, if you can do this, you're gonna alter the game a lot more than just adding some existing assets into the game through some sort of recipe. So anyway, use it at your own peril. Always before you do something like that, go into your data config file, take your items file, and make a backup copy of it. Do not edit without. I mean, you can always, you know, do a Steam file cleanup and you'd be good. But again, just you're better off to just be careful. So anyway, let's save on this to make sure. I can't remember if I did it or not. We'll close out of this and we'll go back to 7 Days to Die. Okay, so we're back in 7 Days to Die, and again, it's regular world. So I want to go ahead and so we're going to add a cooler. Obviously, if you got creative mode, you can just cheat everything in, but I'm going to make it cooler, and I'm going to need some forged iron. Obviously, you're going to have to actually get this yourself later on, but you know, that's how it goes. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to look for fridge. And there's our fridge. Now, again, you're not going to see the pretty kind of name for it. You can go in the items.xml file. I think you can modify that so you can get a pretty name. But for right now, there's our recipe. So we're going to go ahead and just follow that recipe. And you can adjust the craft times as well. I didn't bother since I'm normally playing now with the craft timers off. But all right, so there's that fridge top. And again, you can place this in the world. Just put that right there, and there's that fridge top that we've all seen so many times. And you can open it up. There's your container. So it works just like it would if you went out and saw it in a house, but now you can actually use it. So to me, that just makes the game a little more interesting. You can do a lot more of those kind of creative builds. And it's weird because you can harvest the other fridge completely, and you can make the bottom of this fridge, but for some reason they never added a recipe to make the top of the fridge. And I think that recipe makes a decent amount of sense. Forged iron, a cooler, and some sticks. Actually, you know, look at those. It might actually just be, I might just use more iron or maybe some scrap iron to make the handles instead. So, and I can always do that really easily. You know, leave the game, go back to editor, and make that change. So anyway, if you guys have questions about this, let me know. I may do a similar one of these, a little more in depth, or maybe a couple-parter, talking about the about HAL's prefab editor, which I have used for great benefit to make some prefabs in the past. I haven't made any for 10 since Alpha 10 came out, but I'll have to update my prefabs if I can get them to work, and then we'll go from there. But anyway, if you have questions, go ahead and leave me some comments about it. I will leave the links for BloodSlingers Recipe Editor in the file, along with a link to where you can go to find item names. Even though if you have that recipes editor, there's really no need to even use the raw XML unless you're doing a quick paste for books or something like that. So anyway, if you liked it, give me a like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, your family, and your grandmother, and happy modding.